Open source program officers, community managers, and even maintainers might have tough times trying to justify their involvement or the resources being used for open source initiatives. This presentation and practitioner guide is made to help you demonstrate that value better. If you haven't already watched the first presentation in this series, I recommend that you pause now and watch the video for part one, Practitioner Guide Introduction. Hello, I'm Mary Blessing Okoli, and I'm co-chair, community managers, and DEI working group at CHAOSS, and more recently, project manager for contributor covenant, the most widely adopted code of conduct in the open source ecosystem. So these are the key challenges we hope that this presentation and practitioner guide can help us pose or open source team avoid, if not solve entirely. The first challenge is open source team often need to justify their work, and this is due to the pressure that comes from leadership to drop or reduce their open source contributions in a project. So the team tries to demonstrate that it has as much or even more value. Second is that many teams try to justify the work in ways that sound like charity, or they default to reporting on things that are easy to count, which doesn't really appeal to leadership, right? Because let's face it, saying we do it for the good of the community doesn't pay the bills. Leadership wants numbers, strategic and tangible ones at that. Lastly, some organizations lack a robust open source strategy for open source contributions. Projects can be lucky, and organizations can encourage their employees to, contribute to a project, but that does not usually equal leadership buy-in. Oftentimes and not, employees are asked to contribute to open source directly or indirectly without proper guidance. Then leadership asks questions like, why are we spending time on something that does not help us or something similar? Because again, they weren't guided on how to show that value or what metrics would their work be measured against. Then we see things like both the organization and open source projects, begin to suffer because of no actual open source strategy, right? Leadership often wishes to better understand one or three or more of this, the criticality of an open source project to the organization. What benefits do they get out of contributing? And lastly, how much time is the team spending on it? Because these are the key things they usually would use to measure against the overall value of an open source project to the organization. And you might ask what actions to take from here to effectively demonstrate these values. And this is what we will see in the next slide. So, what are the actions to take from here that will resonate with leadership? The first step is starting with building an open source strategy that supports your organization's goal. Explaining how open source contributions support the goal of the organization can help those in leadership understand the strategic importance of this work. The next step is to determine which open source projects are the most critical for your organization. Put an inventory of all the open source projects your organization depends or rely on, and ask questions like, is it core to your operations? How hard would it be to switch away? Would a security issue derail things or not? Next up is understanding project health risks. And when we talk about health risks, you should look at key signals such as code quality, responsiveness to issues and pull requests, documentation quality, security and release practices, and even organizational diversity, which happens to be a chaos metric. So I encourage that you check that out. And assessing these criticalities and even opportunities for your organization to influence the project would go a long way to help bring critical projects into a healthier state. Once you've assessed the criticality and project health risks, then you need to prioritize your work to stay within the limited resources that you have within your organization. And when prioritizing, a simple formula you can use is criticality multiplied by project health risks of the project, which would give you a rough priority. When measuring and framing value, which is the last action on the list, you want to avoid metrics that just show numbers, but instead tie metrics to tie metrics back to impact, things the leadership would want to see or know, like features delivered, issues and bugs resolved, especially security ones, project health improvements, and so on. These are just a fraction of what has been highlighted in detail in the practitioner guide, linked on the slide. So I encourage you to read the full guide. I hope this helps you better demonstrate the value of your open source efforts and the resources put into open source projects and initiatives as an OSPO, community manager, maintainer, or even someone on the open source team. We hope you enjoyed this video and other videos in this practitioner guide series. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you around in the chaos community.